Hello, hello, hello. My favorite time of the week. I love it, Kat. You all, I'm Stephanie Gillison, and we are coming to you weekly with my partner here, Kat, talking about how we're getting you all excited about investing and purchasing maybe that vacation home, maybe that second home, maybe that short-term rental in the Caribbean, in Central America, outside of the United States. That is what we're learning about. This is Airdomo Beyond Borders, the Global Life Series. And Kat, what are we going to talk about today? I love this topic.
Yeah, I love this topic too. Today, we're going to tackle the smart buy, how to choose the right vacation property because, you go to these places, you think you found the right property, but how do you really know? So, this is your expertise, and this is what we're going to do.
This is my,
What make,
go
oh,
ahead.
go
Sorry.
ahead.
No, go.
I was going to say, so what makes a great vacation home investment?
And this is the hottest question I get every single day. Whether you're messaging me through LinkedIn, whether you're emailing, whether you're picking up the phone and calling me. But what makes a great vacation home investment? It's location, tourist demand, right? Because a lot of times when we're looking at that investment property, we want to make sure that not only do we enjoy it and it's something that we're looking to do for our families or with our partners, but it also has tourist demand, because why not take advantage of making money on that and renting it out? And this may not be in the Caribbean or in a hot place. This could be, a ski resort. It could be areas near a national park. Obviously, it could be, near a beach. But these locations always are going to have better rental potential and long-term appreciation because they're always going to be those destination locations.
Mhm.
Accessibility is going to be another one. You've got to ensure that the property is accessible. I think we talked about this one time,
Yes.
but I had a client reach out to me. Guam's beautiful, but he was building a beautiful destination resort condominiums right on the ocean. But in order to get there, you had to fly into the airport, and then it was a 6-hour helicopter ride. I'm like, sir, no one's going to be able to buy this because no one is going to want to fly in and then get on a helicopter and fly another 6 hours to get to your resort. So accessibility not only needs to be easy, but it needs to be inexpensive as well. Because look, people want to spend their money on when they're actually at the destination and not necessarily getting to the arrival of the destination. And then amenities, right? Amenities, because they want to enjoy the destination. They want to sleep in a comfortable bed. They maybe want a pool or whatever the case might be, but they also want to have local amenities, restaurants, things to do, shopping centers, recreational activities. There's so many things that can make sense. And so those will always play a big role as well too. But location, amenities, market trends, these things are very, very important when it comes to what makes a great vacation home investment.
Yeah, it's so funny that you said the amenities thing because even when I choose a hotel, I'm always looking for a place that's central to all the best restaurants, spas. Amenities are big for me because that's the whole point of doing a vacation or having a second home. You want to rest, you want to have some R&R, you want to chill, and you want to have access to everything. You don't want to travel 5 hours to get someplace.
Well,
So that is huge.
and you also want to make it to where, when you're looking at that home or that condo, you also want to think, okay, if somebody is choosing to stay in your home or your condo over a hotel, that is also because they're looking for space. So the space, is something to consider, but also they're looking for those fully equipped kitchens, laundry facilities, potentially. If it is in that hot destination, maybe they want that private pool or that private hot tub. Look, they want those enhanced features that draw them in, something that maybe not everybody's going to offer. And so when you're looking at the surrounding communities or the surrounding hotels and resorts that are there, try to look at what those amenities that are being offered and see if you can't duplicate those to some extent and then offer some bonuses.
Yeah, that's great advice. Okay, so let's evaluate short-term rental potential. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, short-term rental potential is, look, short-term rentals have become up and coming, over the course of really since COVID. It has improved drastically. The more people wanting to travel, the more people being able, to work away from the office place and wanting to stay a little bit longer, and not stay, consistently in that hotel. But rental income potential, is something that you want to definitely look into. You want to research the local rates. You can do research by using platforms like Airbnb, VRBO to do these research and to see what other properties or like-kind properties are renting for in that area. Now, Airdomo, we're going to do that work for you. So when you're working with us, you don't have to go to that extent. But if you're working on your own or just curious, you can do some of those. Another big thing is you want to look at occupancy rates. Now, occupancy rates are something that is difficult for you as a consumer to find on your own. But somebody like myself, I've been in real estate for quite some time. We have access to reports that we subscribe to, we pay for, data that we can get you those occupancy rates for certain areas. And that's important too, because you want to know what high season is, you want to know what low season is, and you want to know what mid season is, because you want to know what time of year you're going to be making your most money. And you also want to be able to adjust what those rental rates are, because in high season, charge more. Low season, discount it so that maybe you can attract more people that are willing to come when not so much is going on. Does that make sense, Kat?
Yeah, totally, totally. I mean, I'm in the hotel business, so I get it. High season, you can charge 3 times as much. Low season, you want to keep the occupancy up, but yeah, you definitely have to sometimes drop the rate. So yeah, I get it. I
Absolutely.
get it. So as far as expenses and cash flow.
Well, here's the thing. You got to calculate your expenses. If you're going to borrow money to purchase this investment, obviously you got to include the mortgage payments. What is it costing you to own this property each and every month on the mortgage payments? Property taxes, insurance, monthly maintenance, management fees. I recommend that you have a management company that's local, that's on site, that is your boots on the ground, that's your eyes, that is there to inspect and ensure that that property is ready to go before those tenants come in and those guests occupy it each time, because you want good ratings, because that's how you keep getting your property filled, right? You want good ratings online. And so you've got to calculate each and every one of those so that you can understand what your expenses are and then what your cash flow is going to be. Because what you want to understand is, what is the return on the investment, your ROI, okay? And you're going to want to aim for at least 10% return on your investment to make it worth your while, okay? Now, there's some people out there that are like, I don't care so much about that because I'm going to utilize this property myself. And that's okay too, because listen, I work with a lot of clients that say, Stephanie, if I can enjoy this property and the expenses get paid, all the expenses for 12 months get paid by the rental amount that I'm making, and I stay there 3-4 months out of the year, and it's really not costing me anything personally, I'm good with that. And so it all depends on what is your lifestyle, what is your goal, what is it that you want to be. But if it is strictly for the investment purposes, you're going to want to at least meet that 10% return on your investment.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how do market trends impact the value of a vacation home?
Well, market trends, just like anywhere else, supply and demand, right? If there is low supply, prices are high. If there is a lot of supply, prices are low. And then also the demand, how many people want to be in that specific area, or, economic conditions will also attribute to that. Economic conditions as far as the affordability of things. We talked a lot about this on a few of our webinars on, cost per square meter or cost per square foot is what we're used to saying here in the US. So affordability will play a factor in that, but the economic conditions of the actual place itself, whether it's an island, a country, what is it doing there? How safe is it? How is the workforce, all the things that play into, what's going on there, the regulatory changes. We talked a lot about golden visas. We talked a lot about, the protection of property. Yeah. All of these things will play an important role in all of those demographics, locations. There's pretty much all of those things are endless as it rolls into that, Kat.
Sounds great. I mean, one thing leads to another and contributes to the overall success. So I get it. What are the tax advantages of owning a vacation home?
Well, if you're financing it, you're going to have that mortgage deduction write-off, right? I mean,
Right.
So you can qualify on that second home. If you don't rent out the vacation home, you can deduct that mortgage interest, right? So up to $750,000 of combined mortgage debt for both you and your primary on vacation homes.
Wow.
Or $1 million if the loan was secured before December 15th. Rental use, to claim this deduction for a rental property, you must use the home more than 15 days a year or more than 10% of the rental days. Obviously, property taxes are going to be a write-off. Expenses, your maintenance, any repairs, any improvements that you're going to do is going to become your basis. Look, in different areas, in different countries, islands, there's going to be all kinds of different incentives. And obviously, each individual, you're going to have a little bit different, tax, whether you're self-employed, whether you're corporately employed, there's all kinds of different ways that you can play with this. But here's what you need to do. And I learned this the hard way. Make sure that you are talking with a CPA who understands international investment. And what I mean by that is when you're making income internationally, not here in the US, if you do buy an investment property for rental, make sure that they understand what that means. And they do exist, and not all of them are. They might say, oh yeah, sure, I understand that, but they don't. There's
Right.
specialists in this industry, and you definitely need to make sure that is who you're speaking to, because that is night and day. There are ways that, if you're self-employed, I'm not giving tax advice because I am not a CPA, but there are ways that we can, as self-employed individuals, utilize these homes, send our clients down and give away great trips, for all kinds of things. So again, talk to that CPA, but also if you're investing internationally, make sure that they understand what that means and that they specialize in international. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes you can even deduct your travel costs, right?
Absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. For me, if I'm traveling, there's not a time that I'm not doing real estate. I mean, in all actuality. So, for me, I'm doing, business majority of the time that I'm traveling. And, my CPA told me, look, when I'm there, if I'm working, 30% of the time, then a big portion of that is also a write-off. So there's all kinds of ways that you can shake that down. So again, talk to your tax professional, talk to your CPA. Again, it's good information to learn for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so how can investors evaluate the short-term rental potential of a property?
Well, again, let's go back to location assessment, demand and accessibility, in proximity to attractions. Okay. Properties near popular attractions will attract more renters. That's just the way it is. And the location assessment, the easier it is to get to. And if it's in a high tourist demand, such as beach towns or ski resorts, obviously that's going to attract more people. Market research, seasonal demand. You got to understand those seasonal fluctuations so that you can properly project annual revenues accurately. That is extremely important. Local regulations. Listen, we've got a lot of different regulations in the US. Different cities have different rules as it relates to short-term rentals. So you need to also research that locally to make sure that there's no regulations against that. Or if there are, you need to understand what those are if you're looking to purchase. Any regulations against short-term rentals, or if there's a license needed, any of those sorts. Again, that's where Airdomo comes into play, because we do this type of research for you so that we can streamline this process and make sure that we're protecting you in that type of a search. But market saturation is another one, Kat. We all know what happens when the market is flooded, with a ton of homes. Let's speak locally to the US, and let's speak locally to a subdivision. If there's 100 homes in a subdivision and for whatever reason, 60 of them become for sale, my goodness, people are going to be like, wait, what is going on here? And so there has been, and I'm not going to name names, but there has been areas that got extremely popular. And developers just went, whoo, and they honed in on this area, and they have built condo building after condo building after condo building. There's so much saturation, they can't give these things away, okay? And they cannot rent these things out. And when you're looking online, travel, all these different travel sites to rent, and you're seeing $24 a night for a 2-bedroom, 1,800 square foot condo, you're like, wait, what? So you need to look at those things, because you don't want to go into an oversaturated market at all. Here's the other thing, and this is important. And if anyone is advertising that they guarantee you X amount of ROI, like for example, a developer, a broker, realtor, whatever, if they have a sign that says, we guarantee you 12% ROI, that is fake news, people. It's fake news. Yep. There's no way you can do it. There's no way, because these things that we're talking about on here today change. They change just like the wind changes directions when it blows. Okay?
Yeah, that's great advice. It's true. It's absolutely true. Okay, well, that is all we have time for today. Just like you mentioned, of course, if anyone has any questions, please reach out to an Airdomo professional. Stephanie's always available. You can send her a DM, and you could reach any of us, and we'll definitely direct you to the person that could best assist. Stephanie, do you have anything to add?
I just want them to like us on LinkedIn, follow us on Instagram, and, reach out if you have any questions, and tune in next week. We'll have some more education for you as we continue our webinar series of Airdomo Beyond Borders.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Bye, all.